Okay, picking up with question 21. So, which technological innovations or inventions made it easier for expansion out west and settlement in that area? The invention of barbed wire to allow pasture land to be fenced off was an important one. The invention of the steel plow, which made farming easier, was also important. Other things, including railroads, windmills, and other mechanical farming equipment, made expansion and settlement easier in the west as well. 22, farmers faced a lot of problems during this time period. Some of those problems were debt. So farmers had a lot of upfront costs they had to incur before they started to be able to grow their crops. There was a lot of isolation because this was a very sparsely populated area. Farmers were largely dependent on the weather. They were depending on the railroads for the shipment of their products to market and overall faced a lot of poverty. So the Populist Party comes along then and is a political party that largely represents the interests of farmers. So for 23, some of the goals of the Populist Party were a progressive income tax, where the rich pay a higher percentage of their income in taxes, the direct election of U.S. senators, federal government control over the railroads and the telegraphs and the telephones, which a lot of farmers depended on, and finally, the free coinage of silver, which would cause inflation, which is actually beneficial for farmers because a lot of them were in a lot of debt. And inflation is beneficial when you owe money. 24, what did the Interstate Commerce Act say about railroads? So, the Interstate Commerce Act created what's called the Interstate Commerce Commission. The idea of this was to regulate railroad companies and try to end some of those abusive practices that were harming farmers. Overall, this act was not very effective, but it did set an important precedent for government regulation of some of these big companies. Finally, 25, the Sherman Antitrust Act. Again, the goal of this act was to regulate big business, but in this case, by prohibiting monopolies and trusts if those organizations were what we call in restraint of trade or commerce, meaning that they were harmful to the economy and prevented a lot of companies from competing. This act was also not strongly enforced, but also did set an important precedent of the government regulating big business. That's all for this unit. Make sure your review sheet is complete before the test day.